Hello there. I'm going to talk about entropy thermo-nullifiers, I think they're called, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use one. So I've got this big pool of water in my base. You can see on the left-hand side it's actually quite cool, but on the right it's really hot, 43, 44 degrees, and that's getting a little bit too hot for my base. So how am I going to cool that water? Well, I was exploring and I found this. This is an anti-entropy thermo-nullifier. And you've probably found these before, but they're randomly scattered around the cold biomes. And what they do is they take in hydrogen. They don't need any power, but they then, once fed hydrogen, will cool off everything in the surrounding area. And so I'm going to use this to cool off my water. And we're going to have one input and one output. So we'll have some hydrogen gas. Fortunately, I have a pipe already here to dump some hydrogen gas into it. We'll have some water going in, and we'll have some water which will be warm, and water going out which will be cold. You can see that I've already got the pipe with the water going in. What's that water temperature at? 30 degrees, and the one with the pipe going out is just going to dump it back in my water pool. Okay, so rather strangely, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of automation switches. They are going to be and here. My high priority. This is because this whole system I'm going to build, I'm going to make it so I can switch on the water and the gas independently. You don't need to do this if you're actually intending cooling, but I'm just doing this so I can demonstrate how it works. Alright, well the main focus of my anti-entropy thermo-nullifier setup is it's going to have an insulated box all around it. So I'm just going to make that box. You have to remember to leave enough room to put ladders up the side of the thing, because otherwise you're going to find that you end up with unreachable areas when you inevitably break pipes or something else goes wrong, or even just building it. I'll go all the way up here, quite a big box. I like to leave these kind of found artifacts of architecture in here, but you're probably better off taking them out. But door here. What else do we need? We need some tile coming along here. And that ladder has got to carry on up here. And we've got some electrical cable. Here. To the door. Seems good. And let's put both of these switches off so that when the system gets built, we don't actually start pumping water and gas in there. Okay, so that's the box. And then what we'll do is we'll take some gas up from here. This is going to have hydrogen gas in it, and I'll deal with the details of the plumbing later, but we'll stick it into the input of the machine. And also, we will make it come out of high pressure gas vent up here. The reason we do that is because if you just have an anti-entropy thermo-nullifier set on its own, it will cool itself very successfully, but it won't cool the whole of the surrounding area. And I want to cool this whole big area because I'm going to run the pipes all the way through it. So in order to have the area a bit more even temperature, I have a couple of things. First of all, I want to have some temp shift plates that I'll spread all around inside here, which will even out the temperature in the area, in the whole box. And secondly, I'm going to pump it full of hydrogen, so I have something for the thermo-nullifier to cool. And because we're feeding hydrogen into the thermo-nullifier anyway, it's quite easy just to feed hydrogen into this box. So I want this box ultimately to be full of hydrogen at 20 kilograms, and nothing else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little thing at the bottom to empty out things that are not hydrogen. So I'll put gas element sensor here. That's going to detect hydrogen, so when it sees hydrogen, that will give out a green signal. I'm going to put a mini gas pump here. Now I want this gas pump to operate when hydrogen is not detected, and I'm going to just pump these out into open space, probably here. But in order for that to work, I can put in a NOT gate. And and then when hydrogen is not detected on this cell, it will start up and start pumping out the other gas. Okay, so I think that's the hydrogen part of this all working out nicely. What about the liquid part? So again, I'm not going to show you. I'll do it all on my own time. But we'll basically we'll draw this input pipe up here, we'll feed it into the box, and then inside the box we're just going to go up and down, looping around. But we're going to use radiant liquid pipe here. And we're going to use lead radiant liquid pipe so it has a high thermal conductivity, so it transfers its heat or cold to something else quickly. And this will just run all the way up here and all the way down here, and then all the way back up again, and you get the idea. We're just going to fill this whole box with the liquid pipes. We'll also have to put some ladders in so we have accessibility, and I'll probably put a couple of Wheatworks because I happen to have some free, just to add some extra cooling. Oh, and one final thing for the output, when we're dumping gas that we don't want, I want to make sure that I don't accidentally have some hydrogen there. So we will put gas filter here, and we'll make sure that hydrogen goes back into the loop to come back into the box and into the machine, and everything else gets dumped out here. Okay. Right, I'm going to build a bit more of this, and I will come back to you in a second. Well, that was quick. Industrious little devils, aren't they? Now that it's all built, we need to set a couple of filters. So this pump is going to filter for hydrogen, so it doesn't pump any hydrogen out of my setup. This gas element sensor is going to filter for hydrogen. And those planters are ultimately going to contain a couple of Wheatworks, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Right, what's happening here is that I've got some water that's just been sitting waiting for me to build this thing that's getting colder and colder and colder in the pipes, and the liquid pipe in here is broken. So what I'm going to do is, I'll just show you the automation level actually. So this switch is going to turn on the water pipe. This switch is going to turn on the gas, but it's also going to turn on the evacuation of the gas, and this AND gate is just to enable the switch to be used as well as the pump and the NOT gate. You just need the pump and the NOT gate if you're not going to have this thing switchable on and off. But I'm going to switch the water on in the hope that we can get some water flowing through this, and I'm going to accelerate the repair on my pump. Let's speed it up a little bit, see if we can get someone to come and repair my pump and start the water flowing. Well, eventually someone came and repaired my pump. And now we can see that the water coming in is at what, 33, 32, 31 degrees, so it's reasonably warm. The water at the beginning of this is disproportionately cold because it sat in a cold biome for quite a while. But if I can just speed it up a little, then we should see that the water is now, let's have a look, 6, 7, 8, so it's warming up a little. Okay, and now we have some water coming out. It's very cold at the moment. That's just because the water is sitting in this cold biome, and the, whatever it's called, anti-entropy Thermo-Nullifier thing it's had a chance to get cold without anything hot going near it. So the water is going to warm that up very quickly. In fact, if I look at the temperature of the anti-entropy Thermo-Nullifier itself, its temperature is 9-10 degrees. It's probably minus 10 a couple of minutes ago. So now we've got the water flowing through, and what temperature is it coming in at? 33, and it's coming out at, well, this is disproportionately low. And so what's going to happen is that this output temperature, you can see it now, is going to steadily go up because the anti-entropy Thermo-Nullifier is just warming steadily. Now, the way that we can mitigate against that is we can fill the area around the anti-entropy Thermo-Nullifier with hydrogen. Unfortunately, as we were talking about before, we have a switch that should do that. So if I switch on, so let's have a look at the gas pipe. So we've got hydrogen waiting to come into it, basically. And if I turn on this switch, then the gas will start coming in too. Let's go up and zoom in a little bit on this. And we see the gas is going into the Thermo-Nullifier, which is causing it to start operating. It's also going into my insulated box. And again, that gas is going to be the insulator, the thing that holds cold temperature in order to cool the water. So let's have a look at the pressure of the gas. I ought to tell you, I'm using a gas add-in. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll link it in the video description thing. So up here we have 3,000 grams of hydrogen. What do we have down here? We have 1,100 grams of polluted oxygen. So we need this thing to fill up with a bit more hydrogen, a bit less polluted oxygen. Fortunately, I have this pump getting rid of the polluted oxygen, and I have plenty of hydrogen being pumped in, so I think it's just a case of speeding things up and coming back to it in a second. And that was surprisingly fast as well. So now we have a bit more hydrogen in here. 13 kilograms, so it's not the whole 20, I didn't wait quite long enough. 12, 11, so if we waited a bit longer, we'd have had 20 kilograms in there. I see, I put a mesh tile in here to allow liquid that turns up, because sometimes you get broken pipes and broken pipes basically, and liquid ends up on the floor in here. And you either have to have a pump to get it all out, or in this case I thought I'd just put a mesh tile underneath and I'd accept that some gas was going to come out. And what actually happened, I hadn't really thought about it, but what's happened is that this gas is filling up a kind of hydrogen reservoir underneath my cooling system, which I think will be quite handy when people come in and out the door. But anyway, so now it's been running for a little while. The question is, how hot is the water going in and how hot is the water coming out? Something's gone wrong with my water supply here. What temperature is it? Actually, let me pause it. It's 30 degrees coming in, 20 degrees coming out. So that's more what I'd expect, actually. So we're knocking 10 degrees off. I mean, 10 degrees doesn't sound like an enormous amount, but in oxygen not included, that's a lot of difference when you're looking at kind of plant maximum temperatures and that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm sure I've done a lot of this wrong. I'm not an expert at this game. This is the only video I've made about it. But thank you very much for watching.